Good evening. I'm Budget Officer Chris Trumbauer. Welcome to the District 6 Budget Town Hall. We've got County Executive Stuart Pittman and County Council Member Lisa Rodvian with us, and we're going to get started in just a second. I wanted to let everybody know how this evening will run. First, we're going to have brief remarks from the County Executive, then he'll turn it over to Councilwoman Rodvian. After that, County Executive will lead us through a brief presentation with some budget overview. Then we'll get to the most important part, hearing from the public. We'll have 2 minutes each. That will be facilitated by Vincent from our Community Engagement Constituent Services team. And then we'll wrap it up with closing remarks from the council member and the county executive. So thanks again for joining us. And it's my pleasure to turn it over to County Executive Stuart Pittman.
Thank you, Chris. Good to be with you, Councilwoman Rodvian. And good to be with you, everybody from District 6. This is the last of 7. And last week I actually thought it was the last one, and then I told people not to tell anybody in District 6 that I forgot all about them. But this is the finale, and I understand we've got a great crowd tonight. So this is all about listening to you. You know, we've done these now. This is the third year I've been in office. It was a new thing to do a budget town hall in advance of the budget process, so we hear what people are saying before we meet with all our department heads and really get into the meat of it. And so I can tell you that in the past, things that have been brought up at these town halls have been funded, not just because they were brought up, but also because they were good ideas and you made a good case for them. So I want to just, before I turn it over to Councilwoman Rodvian for some introductory statements, just let you know some of our staff that is here. And they're here because they take notes. Sometimes they take what you say and the department heads bring them to the meetings with us and remind us that you talked about these things and wanted them funded. And sometimes they write down things that can actually be done right away that aren't budget items that you bring up. So thank you for being here. Bridget Smith from Congressman Sarbanes' office, been at all of these town halls just about, I think. And my Chief Administrative Officer, Matt Power, is with us. Chief of Staff, Dr. Kay Bodges de Brown. Deputy Chief Administrative Officer, or czar, for Land Use, Lori Rhodes. Czar for Health and Human Services, Pam Jordan. Department of Aging and Disabilities Director, Carissa Gowan. Department of Public Works, Chris Phipps. Rick Anthony from Rec and Parks, Ben Burge from Economic Development Corporation, and Brian Ulrich from Transportation. So know you are being heard, not only by us, but by some of the staff who make things happen. So I will turn it over now to Councilwoman Rodvian for some opening remarks and thoughts.
Well, thank you, County Executive Pittman. I really just want to let you guys know that my main role here is to put this pen to good use. I will be doing what a lot of other county folks in the room will be doing, and that's taking notes on what your concerns are. I would say my biggest budget priority is going to be to hopefully be returning the county to both physical health and economic health as we hopefully move away from the pandemic and restore our institutions, make sure schools can do everything they are able to do. And hopefully by the fall, we'll be looking at a better picture. So, but we need to be prepared for whatever comes our way. And I'll be listening to all of your thoughts on the direction you'd like to see the county move. So thank you.
Okay, we're going to start the presentation here. I'll go through the first couple slides and then turn it back over to the county exec. So what you're looking at now is our budget timeline. As you can see, our budget process starts all the way back in September. Pretty much when we pass the current year budget, we start working on the next year's budget. So the first thing is the capital program, where we do all the projects and the things that we need to build and put the capital dollars in. That starts in September. We're just wrapping it up now. And in fact, we will put in our departmental requests to the Planning Advisory Board on this Friday, February 12th. So that's wrapping up a 4 or 5 month long process. And then the Planning Advisory Board will review and deliberate and give the county executive their recommendations, and then we'll finalize it from there. On the operating side, all the departments have given us their original submissions, and now the budget office is going through them with a fine-tooth comb, making sure all the numbers match up, and then we'll present potential departmental budgets to the county executive a little bit later this spring. And the idea here is we need to wrap everything up on our end in March and April so it can be submitted to the county council as the county executive's proposed budget on April 30th. And then the council will have 60 days to deliberate. They will hopefully pass the budget by June 15th, and it will go into effect the first day of the new fiscal year, which is July 1st. So it's important to realize that County Executive Pittman wanted to have these meetings now before everything is finalized so that we can hear from the public and that your input can be part of our deliberations as County Executive puts his budget together for this year. Now what you're seeing is where our funds come from. So the first thing you'll probably notice is there's two very large bars at the top. We get about $1.7 billion of revenue estimated in this current fiscal year in FY21. The two primary sources there are property taxes and local income tax. That's $775 million for property tax and about $589 million for local income tax. There's little green arrows next to them, and that indicates that year over year compared to last year, there was a slight increase. And that's actually really good news, if not a little surprising, because we wrote our revenue forecast down last year when the pandemic started to hit. But it turns out because of the federal stimulus and some other mitigating factors, the county has actually done okay with our property tax and income tax returns. So we know a lot of individuals and families are still hurting, and we put a lot of assistance programs together for them. But thanks to the federal stimulus, our revenues have been held pretty harmless on that. Going down, you see recordation and transfer tax. That's what we get from anytime you buy or sell a home or refinance. There are recordation and transfer fees. We've got that listed as 95 million right now, but if this year holds solid, we may be able to revise that upward because the real estate market is still pretty hot. So that's been one surprise in the pandemic. You can march through the other things there and you see things like fund balance and local sales tax and state shared revenue. And state shared revenue is largely the casino gaming dollars and things like that. License and permits, and then investment income rounds us out. But you see a lot of the red downward pointing arrows. That indicates that it's actually less than what we took in last year in fiscal year 20, which is a little unusual, but is a result of the pandemic. So we flip the slide and go to the next one. You can see the other side of the books, which is the expenditures. This is where we spend our money. And the big bar at the top is our friends at the Board of Education. So in the current year, we're sending $857 million to the Board of Ed so that they can equip teachers and educators and the whole system with what they need to give our students a world-class education. Next biggest tranche there is public safety. So this is police, fire, detention. That's 333 million. Then you have our general government operations. Next on the list is our health and human services. Debt service is the interest that we pay on our bonds that help finance all the projects that we have in our capital budget. And then our land use agencies. And then the bottom three are our component units, the community college, the library, and the judiciary round us out there. But those are the main categories of how we spend our money. Then this slide is just a little bit more detailed about the Board of Ed funding. So direct funding is about $750 million, but then we also pay for the school system's debt service. So this is the bonds for their capital projects. And then we also pay for school health officers and then school safety, which includes the school resource officers as well as crossing guards. So you add that all together, that's where you get our 857 number. And then the big yellow box on the right shows us that that's more than half of our operating budget goes to the Board of Education. That's a brief overview of where the money comes from and where it goes. And now I'm going to turn it back over to County Exec to run through some budget highlights from this year.
All right. Any of you who've been to some of these budget town halls already, this is your punishment for coming to more than one, to have to listen to this more than once. But I just want to go through a few of the things that we've done in recent budgets to give you a sense of our priorities and where we're headed. before we get started. And I'll be as quick as I can, and I may talk so fast that you can't follow it, but that's please try to keep up. Public safety. This says that we spent some serious money this year on some new pay packages for police department and fire department to get them to the average for the region. And that was important because we were having trouble recruiting and hiring, and because we want to increase the morale, improve the morale in those departments. And doing this has really helped with that. But I also want to mention that the numbers of police officers and firefighters have been significantly lower than all of the accrediting agencies say they should be for our county, given the fact that we've grown fast, very fast, and then not kept up. So we were able to increase the number of police officers by filling positions that had been on the books but not been filled in our first year, and we're improving that. And on the firefighter side, we got a federal grant to help us with some of our effort to add enough firefighters so that we have enough on the apparatus that it's safe when they go out. Next slide is education. And this last year, as Chris said, we had to lower our revenue projections by about 40 million based on what we projected was going to happen with the pandemic. And so it was a leaner budget year for education. Unfortunately, we were able to keep up with the growth of our student population and do 96 new classroom teachers just to keep from increasing the classroom sizes. The previous year, we were able to go beyond that and reduce the class sizes somewhat. We also had a new high school that we had to staff, so that's where some of those came in. And then special ed was an area where we had just fallen short, and we had to catch up, and we did 76 new positions there. And then in behavioral health, the needs have been huge, and they continue to grow, especially in this pandemic. We added 12 new behavioral health specialists last year. Next slide. The previous year, however, we made some progress on teacher pay and back steps, and we want to continue to do that, even though we have challenging budget projections. On the environment, we've thrown park renovation in here because one of the ways that our residents experience the environment, and one of the ways that we protect open space, is through our parks. And so we've increased park renovation funding. This is outside of our regular capital improvements programs for parks by 3 million this last year. The land use navigator, we threw that in partly because it's expensive. It's really just software, but it changes the way land use applications are done. They'll be all electronic, and residents will have a much easier time keeping track of where the projects are and can intervene and whether they support them or oppose them, and have a greater voice as this comes online. And then impact fees and fiscal impact of development. I was just meeting with our plan and zoning officer today about this effort. I said in the beginning that we were going to have to measure the real impacts of development to make sure taxpayers were not paying for the cost of development. So that's roads and schools and public safety, and really even adding parks in there as well. So we're going to look at what kinds of development pay for itself and which kinds are falling short. Redevelopment certainly is more cost effective for the county fiscally than developing open space and destroying what should be environmentally protected land. And then impact fees, which we know have been lower than the actual costs that were recommended by the last consultant. So we're having to crunch new numbers so that we can catch up there. Next slide. And then on infrastructure, a couple of new fire stations this year. Route 2 and Route 3 corridors where we have failing intersections have been our top priority with the state highways for many years, and they have pretty much done nothing. And what we did, if you remember 2 years ago, we did a 0.1% increase on the income tax specifically for permanent public improvements. And that has allowed us to set aside money to start to provide a carrot to get the state to come in with their money to improve Route 2 and 3 corridors, adding some lanes where they're needed, and some work on those intersections to get the traffic moving again. And we're about to sign an MOU with them that lays out our responsibilities and theirs. We are working on a transportation center in Parole. We opened our police training academy, and we are keeping up on school construction according to the plan that has been that was established a few years back, but we had fallen behind, and now we're on pace. Next slide. and in your district, that you can go to aacounty.org/yourbudget and look at all of this. And of course, you can go into last year's capital budget and click through on every project and find out what it is and the status of it. But I won't go through all of these. Clearly, we got done with Tyler Heights, going to move forward on Hillsmere Elementary, and then Eisenhower Golf Course stream restoration, and the course itself finally will be opening this spring. Had a little bit of a slowdown this year. South Shore Trail moving forward. Quiet Waters Retreat, the land adjacent to Quiet Waters that we acquired this year. Big deal, and I can't wait to get that open and provide some water access there as well. I won't go into the rest. Next slide. Revenues. So the money that we expect to have, especially for new stuff, the magic number is the projections for incremental recurring revenue. That's the, Chris talked about the major sources, but our team projects what the revenue will be in the coming year. And it looks like it's going to be 60 to 80 million over last year, which is a decent year. So it's 50 to 80 million is the increase that we expect, just not from raising tax rates, but from people making more money and from new land coming onto the tax rolls, or from property increasing in value and they're reassessed. As well as other revenue sources. So we're in okay shape there. Long term, really still uncertain. And then the fund balance, which is really a measure of how we budgeted last year. Like any business, you want to end the year with some money in the bank, and we have done that. And so we're going to have a decent fund balance, which means that's money that we can use once, but it's not something that we could hire people with because we don't know if that money will be there in future years. So when we're hiring people, it's a long-term commitment of paying them. One-time expenditures, sometimes we're able to do help with our capital program and other one-time things. The CARES Act money was 101 million, and it was federal money because of COVID. And it really made it possible for us to do some of the amazing stuff the county did this year in response to the pandemic, not just in the health department with contact tracing and testing and now vaccinations, which I won't get into. But you can join our press conference tomorrow at 11 if you want to hear the latest update there. But eviction prevention and the food distribution work that we've done, and food to our food bank, and paying people's water bills and utility bills. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I'm really proud of what our health and human service agencies have done during this pandemic. We're filling gaps in the safety net that we're going to have to continue to fill in the future, because a lot of these holes in the safety net existed even before the pandemic. Next slide. And on expenditures, we know that 60 to 80 million is a lot of that gets eaten up in non-discretionary increases, the increased cost of debt service and our benefits and negotiated pay packages. But then there are the discretionary increases. So every department and that's a lot of what you're going to talk about today, but every department comes to us with proposals for things that they believe will improve services to county residents. And we look at their performance metrics and we make decisions each year on which one of those we can afford to fund. And I can tell you that most don't get funded, but it does give us a roadmap for how to improve services. Next slide. And then quickly, just comparing our tax rates to other counties. Property tax rate is now at 93.4 cents per $100 of assessed value, which makes us the 7th lowest in Maryland. All of those below us are rural counties, and we're significantly lower than the central Maryland counties that have higher density populations and more infrastructure as a result, and more service needs. As a result, we were actually over $1 at one point, and they have gradually come down in Anne Arundel County, partly as a result of the county's revenue cap. Next slide. And then the income tax rates in Anne Arundel are the 4th lowest in the state of Maryland. You can see that most of central Maryland is at 3.2%, and that's the maximum allowed by state law. We're at 2.81%. And we're proud of that. We like to have lower taxes. Nobody likes to pay taxes, pay high taxes. And so that's where we stand. There are 3 that are below us. Next slide. And then I just want to mention the impacts of COVID on the economy. You can see here the coronavirus crisis, the current recession, if you want to call it that, compared to the last 3 recessions. And the purple line is the lowest quarter of wage earners. And the line goes with job loss. And the bottom line, what this is telling us is that you're 8 times more likely to lose your job in the COVID economy than if you were a higher income person. And that wasn't the case in previous recessions where people lost money in the stock market. They've not lost money in the stock market in this recession. So the wealthier folks are doing fine, and it's the lower income, frontline, hardworking people who are getting hurt the most. Next slide. There is a proposal in the General Assembly. We brought this to them last year, and I believe in this. It's a proposal to allow counties to tax income instead of at a flat rate of 2.81% that we have. It would allow us to have a slightly higher rate for higher income people and a slightly lower rate for lower income or moderate income people. And we actually ran some numbers that would allow us to have a very slight increase on people who make $500,000 or more per year, just for that income above $500,000. And with that money, pay for a tax decrease for 98.6% of our residents and still have some money left over for services. So we hope that gets through the General Assembly. Next slide. And I just want to quickly mention some ways to connect with county government, to let us know when things are broken and need to be fixed or things that need to be addressed. So on the homepage here is C-Click Fix. It's also 311. Next slide shows you just how many people use it. It's a fairly new program, so it's been increasing since 2018. Almost 20,000 cases filed by residents every year. And we keep track through our wonderful team of 2 at Arundel Stat of how every department is responding and resolving these cases. So know that everybody is being measured on how responsive they are, and we hope that you are satisfied with their response. Next slide. And then Open Arundel is something that team of 2 also has created. And it's something that I promised when I ran for this office, and I love it. And I hope you do too. I hope you'll explore it. It's a web portal that allows you to look at every county department and look at the metrics that they measure their performance by and see how they're doing. And then there's more and more being added to it constantly, including more mapping and GIS data. Eventually, we want you to be able to look at your neighborhood and see every county service that's going into your neighborhood and how things are going, and everything from new development to crime to environmental impact to sea level rise, and you name it. We want to have it on Open Arundel. Next slide. And then lastly is our budget tool, which you can play with. If you haven't, you can go in here, and it doesn't allow you to do everything and completely create a budget, but you can add things and subtract things and see how that impacts the bottom line to the budget. Next slide, I think, is the last one. And let's now go to the important part. And actually the important person who I didn't introduce with staff in the beginning, because he's at all of these, and I'm used to seeing his face everywhere, is Vincent Molden, who's your Community Engagement and Constituent Service Director for District 6 for this area, as well as for South County, and is going to be, I believe, managing the most difficult part of this, which is hearing from you. Thanks, Vincent.
Thank you, County Executive. Again, I'm Vincent Molden. I'm the Community Engagement Officer for Annapolis and South County, and I have the honor of moderating the public testimony portion of tonight's town hall. So if you're interested in giving public testimony and you're participating via Zoom, the way to do that is to click the raise hand button located at the bottom of your screen. Once you click that button, you'll be added to the queue, and I'll call your name, and then you'll be able to unmute yourself. There's a bit of a delay between when I call your name, when you get the ability to unmute yourself. So we'll give you a couple of seconds to get yourself together. And then once you unmute yourself, you have 2 minutes to speak. At that time, we will ask you to wrap up your thoughts so that we can move along to the next person. It's really important that we stick to that time frame so that we can get to everyone. Right now I'm looking, and we have about 17 hands raised. Also, if you're participating via Facebook and you would like to give a public testimony, there should be a link in the description where you can go ahead and register and get on the Zoom, and you'll follow the same instructions. So the first three people we'll have give public testimony tonight are Garrett Brown, Rudy Brown, and John Vandekamp. And we're going to go ahead and get started with Garrett Brown.
Can I just real quick, Vincent, if I could jump in, and I forgot to mention that the councilwoman and I will not be responding to each of your comments, but at the end, if you stick around, we'll comment in general and may address some of them. So stick around.
And I will add that I am writing down everything. So I'm taking note from every speaker that participates tonight.
So am I, but I can't read my handwriting when I write that fast. So we'll see.
I have the same problem. All right, Garrett, you can get started.
All right, good evening, guys. And tonight I want to talk about the Eisenhower Golf Course and the potential for getting a new clubhouse. Based on my experiences being in the golf industry for probably 15, 20 years now, I just think it's really important that we get a clubhouse for expanding the game. As far as additional revenue we can create with the golf course. We're really sitting on a boom here with the golf industry over the last year due to COVID. And I think it'd be a really big missed opportunity for us not to have an additional clubhouse for meeting space, for additional pro shop merchandise to promote the brand. As far as additional revenue, as far as doing weddings and different events we can use that facility for, as far as bringing in outings to the golf course. I really think if we don't have this, the experience of our guests at the golf course will be severely hindered. And I don't think when they pull up to Eisenhower and they see a great new golf course, they want to see us working out of a trailer. So I really think that getting a clubhouse in there would really help the experience of the new golf course. And that's really all I have tonight. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Garrett. Up next, sorry, it's can't see the name. We have Rudy Brown.
Okay, good evening. And I also would like to talk about the clubhouse at Eisenhower Golf Course. It's very important that we have this facility at the new golf course, because it's just about creating the atmosphere of a municipal golf course. It's about accessibility. A municipal golf course is there to bring in all types of people in the community, whether you're young kids, women, men. It's the place to go play golf where you don't have to belong to a club. It's designed to bring in all types of people from our community. In addition to building the clubhouse, I'd also like to encourage that we name it after Al Green. And for those of you that don't know who Al Green is, he was one of the groundbreakers in the African-American community as far as playing golf. He grew up in Annapolis, and he became the first African-American golf pro at Eisenhower Golf Course roughly back in the late 60s. So again, these are the type of things where it provides accessibility to a community that might not necessarily have the advantage to take advantage of the golf course. And we're spending all this money to build a first class golf course. It would be a shame that we not build a facility that merits the golf course that we're going to be playing on in the spring. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rudy. Up next, we have John Vandekamp.
Hey, good evening, County Executive Pittman, Councilwoman Rodbean, my former neighbor, Mr. Chris Trumbauer. I'd like to speak to you tonight about the urgency to deal with the safety issues on Forest Drive. 40,000 vehicles drive along Forest Drive, including school buses, and we've talked a lot about school safety and public safety. This is imperative that these issues be addressed. Forest Drive has the 5 most dangerous intersections in the county for fatalities and accidents. This is not new. It's a longstanding problem and many failing intersections. To address this, the county, city, and state have been cooperating on a Forest Drive task force. The report will be released in the very near future. This will include recommendations to deal with these problems and help people get to NSA, Capitol Hill, Baltimore, the Anne Arundel Medical Center, shopping, and the Pearl Town Center safely and hopefully get home safely. So the county needs to, with respect, needs to take a serious look at this, as I know you will, and fund it. We know that personally that Councilman Rhonda Pindell Charles of the city of Annapolis, Alderwoman for Ward 3, supports it. Her ward adjoins the Parole Town Center. Forest Drive goes from the Parole Town Center area through to Bay Ridge, where I live. It's a long road. The county owns it. The city builds right up next to it. So this is a serious issue for public safety, getting children to school effectively and safely. And we'd appreciate your attention to this issue as we move forward in the budget deliberations. And thank you for all that you're doing for all of us. Thank you again very much.
Thank you, John. Next, we have Kathy Samaras.
Hi, can you hear me? I can't see anything.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So I'm a community builder, passionate about kids getting opportunities to learn, play, compete, and laugh. As the only female member of the Anne Arundel County Rec Advisory Board, I love working with like-minded adults who are guided by systems and structures that enhance every child's pathway to confidence and courage. Thanks for this opportunity to address one such system, which is a serious matter of public health and gender inequality. While only referencing the facility that my organizations use, this applies to all others throughout the county. Annapolis High School is currently the premier sports venue in our county. Really? There is nothing premier about a facility that offers 3 turf fields, 3 Bermuda fields, 1 grass field, a baseball and a softball compound, plus tennis courts, but has severely limited bathroom facilities. Here we go, folks. On any given Saturday from March to November, 500 athletes, young athletes, can be accommodated on those 10 fields along with a tag-along parent, sibling, or friend. You do the math. My time is short here. To put that in perspective, an event run at Annapolis on 6 fields requires 24 PSUs. That means personal sanitation, I forget what the U stands for, units, and 6 hand washing stations. This established principle of 4 seats or toilet seats per field must be applied to our local venues. Rec and Parks collects participation fees from those athletes and use fees from the sponsoring organization, yet fails to provide the most necessary of all facilities, sources of relief. So what is the standard? Whatever it is, we should be supplying it, because right now, as our rec leagues are gearing up to hold practices, we expect 400 to 500 athletes, coaches, parents to use 2 single spot-a-pots that too often haven't been cleaned for 7 days. That's not the way to run rec programs in normal times, certainly not in the time of COVID. The solution is straightforward. We need safe, convenient sanitation facilities, and we need them now. I'm happy to help craft the details of a plan down the road. An indoor bathroom facility should be constructed on the back.
Kathy, I'm sorry. I know you can't see the screen, but your time is up. Would you mind wrapping up your thoughts?
Yes, sure. We need bathrooms at Annapolis High School, and we need them on every other sports facility that we contract out for any of our kids to use. And our parents have written that while this might seem trivial in the eye of a pandemic, our ability to comfortably be at the fields is diminished greatly by the lack of adequate facilities. Girls cannot just run off to the side of a field, relieve themselves, and return before the next whistle like the boys can. So on behalf of the Rec Advisory Board, we implore you to provide the effective leadership and resources to remedy this unacceptable situation. In 2021, this is my last sentence, it is negligent to collect usage fees without being able to provide adequate facilities for those playing, officiating, coaching, and watching youth sports. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Up next, we have Janet Norman.
Good evening. I'm Janet Norman, representing the Annapolis High School Parent Teacher Student Association. Thank you for all you're doing. As you know, the desirability of our county is reliant upon the quality of our schools and educational experiences. As we see, it's not the buildings doing the job, it's our teachers and school administrators and staff who are pulling off amazing feats during virtual learning. I urge you to use the one-time fund balance you have to make the needed implementation transition to safe and healthy school transportation. The Prismatic Transportation Consulting Report laid it out for AACPS. And our 8:30 a.m. high school starts during the virtual learning year we've had have shown what healthy sleep can do for our students, for their mental health, their achievements, and their physical health and immunity. This is clearly the stated recommendation of the American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC. But it's not being achieved through the in-house capabilities of AACPS, and it's perfectly suited for a contract through the fund balance. Some of the most wrenching testimony I've ever heard at the Board of Education were the military families served by Mead Heights Elementary School and how badly their 9:40 a.m. start time was affecting the learning of their young students. I've seen firsthand how high school students are harmed by the 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. wake-ups. We know the brain science. We need to make the routing of our students as capably done as we route our snowplows and our trash trucks. Thank you for considering this vital need for our students.
Thank you, Janet. Up next, we have Max Pierce.
You guys hear me? Good.
Yes, we can hear you, Max.
Good afternoon. I'm Councilwoman Rodbiam and County Executive Pittman. It's good to see both of you. First of all, I want to quickly thank you for all that you've done for the county, especially over the course of the pandemic. I appreciate all the work you've done to put the safety of your citizens first, even if it means making hard decisions. I signed up for this budget town hall to advocate for Anne Arundel County animal care and control. Over the course of the pandemic, I had the great joy of being a foster for the county. My partner and I have fostered 9 kittens since last March. Every staff person we interacted with at Animal Care and Control was professional, kind, and did their best to support us and the animals. This is why I hope we prioritize funding them in this new budget. It would be great if we could get funds to hire a new staff veterinarian, new cages for more space for the animals, and more funds for treating animals with higher medical cost needs. Also, it would be great if they could be open longer hours so that they could be available to the community and help with animals in a crisis situation. That's my time. Thank you so much for hosting this. I know you guys struggle to make yourself accessible during COVID, but I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. And up next, we have Christopher Pfaff.
Hi, good evening. I would like to voice my support for the community boathouse at Quiet Waters. While our county is blessed with over 500 miles of coastline, access is extremely limited to just private facilities. There is no public facility to easily launch a small paddlecraft. The importance of choosing an exercise regime that you enjoy is well chronicled. I'm a paddler and a rower, and neither feels like a workout. I fell into both as a way to get exercise without going to the gym, which I dread. When COVID struck, rowing quite literally helped keep my sanity. Like so many others working from home with a young child, I desperately needed physical activity, fresh air, and just to get out of the house as a way to improve my mental health. Rowing and paddling does all of that for me and more. Paddling and rowing enthusiasts are a community, but a community needs a place to call home. Our community has been searching for a home for many years, and I'm imploring you to hear our voices. There's a great plan in place, and it is a wonderful start. Let's take the next step and make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Up next, we have Lisa Began.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Lisa Began. I am a veterinarian who lives and owns a veterinary practice in District 6. I am speaking today to explain why I feel strongly that our shelter, Animal Care and Control, desperately needs a staff veterinarian. I have been working with Animal Care and Control as a private contractor for 5 years. Every Monday, I take an hour out of my private practice to see as many shelter animals as possible that require veterinary care. Because the shelter does not have a veterinarian on staff, the shelter relies on the help of local veterinarians. Most shelters in other states and Maryland counties have at least one veterinarian on staff, and most the size of our shelter have several. With the current pandemic, veterinarians across the country have been overwhelmed with patients and procedures. It is not uncommon for emergency clinics in our county to have wait times of 6 to 8 hours for pets waiting to be seen. My schedule is booked through March. The shelter staff spends hours a day trying to get animals seen and treated at local hospitals by veterinarians. As you can imagine, especially in our current environment, this is extremely difficult and time-consuming for the shelter staff, and sometimes a painful wait for the animals. In cases of suspected animal abuse requiring litigation, veterinarians are even more reluctant to help. This is because the litigation system requires veterinarians to take full days off from our already overwhelmed practices in order to appear in a court. As a single practitioner, I find this nearly impossible. While the shelter staff are doing an impressive job getting help for suffering and ill animals, it is not a scalable or easy or efficient way to help the animals. Unfortunately, shelter animal emergencies do not keep business hours or fit into the schedule of off-site veterinarians. Having a veterinarian on staff would increase the number of animals seen and increase efficiency. I have a little bit more, but I know my time is up. So I guess the main thing that I want to say is that I really hope that you will consider adding a veterinarian to the shelter staff.
Thank you, Lisa. Up next, we have Linda Boyd.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Rodman. My name is Linda Hicks Boyd, and I am currently the chair of the Wally H. Bates Board of Directors and member of the Wally H. Bates class of 1964. I am here again to ask for your continued funding to maintain the executive director position for the Wally H. Bates Legacy Center. The Wally H. Bates High School Legacy Center is of exceptional significance in the history of the development of public education for African Americans in Anne Arundel County, and is of great importance to the culture of our communities. The need for the executive director to maintain and manage the center is imperative. The hiring of the executive director has allowed for us to complete our Bates Restoration Project, provide training for the seniors on how to obtain real ID, expanded and sustained grant funding and resources, increased alumni membership, hosted 4 Rivers Heritage Area Director Summits, and participated in the Maryland Day events. Our board of directors and alumni are enthusiastic about sustaining the legacy of Wally H. Bates and the school. We want the center to remain as the most inclusive and culturally enriched center for the community. Alumni and supporters continue to be passionate about sharing the evolution of the schools and the center's historical beginnings. In order for the center to continue as a depository of historical artifacts and memorabilia, and a center for cultural enrichment for the communities, the need for an executive director to manage programs, seek grant funds, organize fundraising, foster volunteerism, and communicate with Bates alumni and community leaders. I again am requesting the county executive to fund in his budget for 2021-22 the position of an executive director for the Bates Legacy Center, and asking for Councilwoman Rodman's support. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Up next, we have Shelley Rowe.
Thank you so much. I am Shelley Rowe, and I'm here representing the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra. And fast forward with me to Labor Day, because thanks to all the dedication of our healthcare workers, we will hopefully be outside at Quiet Waters Park, listening to the music of the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra. And just imagine how good that's going to feel. A beautiful day with beautiful music. The Annapolis Symphony Orchestra, we look forward to giving that free concert as a gift to our community. But you see, it costs $40,000 to put on that concert. And we're here to ask to partner with the county on that funding. Specifically, we would ask the county to perhaps raise your support to the level of the support you provided us in the past years of $20,000. That allows us to work together as we have done in the past to bring this concert into our community. We are so grateful for all the support that you've provided to us in the past, and we look forward to working with you to bring this gift of free music into our community at a time when we could all use the power of beautiful music now more than ever.
Thank you, Shelley. Up next, we have Lori Brown. Hi, Lori, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, Lori.
Oh, great. Sorry, there I had 3 unmutes to hit.
No problem.
Thank you for letting me speak. I am an Anne Arundel County resident and an avid golfer, so I would like to circle back to the topic of the Eisenhower Clubhouse and wanted to just mention a few concerns about not funding a clubhouse. First, when golfers arrive at a golf course, the first window into our new and beautiful golf course would be the clubhouse. So if we have a temporary clubhouse, it's not going to provide a very good impression to folks who are coming to see our new beautiful course. If our goal is to increase golf, a bad first impression will not have golfers returning. Additionally, the clubhouse provides opportunities to sell apparel, to sell golf balls, to sell gloves, those last minute things that golfers need right before they're going out to play golf. So again, it's an opportunity for more revenue to come into the system. Additionally, it could provide adequate place to change clothes. A lot of golfers come to play golf after work, and having an adequate place to change is awesome. If we only have porta potties or a temporary space, it doesn't provide that opportunity. And as a female golfer, it's important to have respectable bathrooms instead of porta potties. A clubhouse also offers the opportunity for refreshments before, at the turn, and after for food and beverages. And it's also important to have that during extreme temperatures for respite from the heat or cold and to maintain drinks and hydration. Additionally, during COVID, golf has increased and tee times are at a premium. So this is our golden opportunity for our community to shine and to grow the game. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Up next, we have Rachel Myers.
Thank you, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Rodvian. I'm Rachel Myers, Branch Manager of Discoveries, the library at the mall. Thank you both and the entire council for supporting Discoveries as we have transitioned to our new location. I'm testifying this evening in support of the library's budget, as well as to share the enormous impact libraries continue to have on our community, even during a pandemic. As soon as we closed our doors in March, we began offering virtual programs, and so far more than 30,000 people have tuned in to programs like Storytime, Early Reader Book Club, and Adult Trivia. We have significantly increased our collection of ebooks, e-audiobooks, and streaming movies. We have expanded at-home access to popular databases like Ancestry.com and added valuable online learning resources for job seekers. We now offer Chromebook and Wi-Fi kits for checkout to support those without computer and internet access at home. And we have worked hard to provide material and printing pickup via curbside, a safe, easy service that nearly 90,000 customers have taken advantage of. We're proud to offer these services because for the library, what we do is always about serving the needs of our customers. Every day, library staff are helping to build stronger communities by helping seniors without computer access sign up for the vaccine, handing out food and collecting diapers, and printing essential documents for teachers. As you might know, the library is celebrating its 100th birthday this year in 2021. And to help us become the library of the next 100 years, we need your help. We have important infrastructure and IT needs to prevent future cyber attacks and to allow us to expand our virtual services like those I mentioned earlier. We also need to provide a path for advancement for our entry-level professional staff who so innovatively serve our customers with creativity and compassion. I urge your support of our requests as we build the library of the next 100 years. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Rachel. Up next, we have Jane Seiss.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Rodvian. My name is Jane Seiss, and I am the Executive Director of the Anne Arundel County Literacy Council. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of our students, tutors, and staff. The Literacy Council provides free literacy, math, and ESL instruction to low-income adults in Annapolis and throughout Anne Arundel County. We are asking for your support to continue to implement and grow our programs in for some of the most vulnerable people in the county. Our students work with tutors to get a GED, find a better job, or find a job, qualify for training programs, pass the ASVAB military entrance exam, speak and to understand English, become citizens, or live independently. Our services are all free, including books, laptops, tutoring, and assessments. Thanks to our tutoring programs, students are empowered to participate in their children's education and in our communities, improving equality fates for the next generation and helping to break the cycle of poverty. Our dedicated staff provide year-round support for hundreds of students and tutors. Traditionally, we don't receive federal or state funding and rely on community support and smaller grants to operate. Through our network of tutors and staff, the Literacy Council facilitates connection, positive influence, and possibility in Anne Arundel County. With your help, we will make life better for so many deserving people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jane. Up next, we have Megan Ranby.
Hi there, my name is Megan Ranby. Thank you for your time tonight. There are some items that I'd like to know the status of. Number 1, the housing trust that was proposed by County Executive Pittman. Number 2, funding for the Human Relations so that it can investigate complaints of discrimination. Number 3, funding for body cameras and car cameras for the police. Number 4, the plans for each county department to hire more Black people and more Indigenous people. I also want to let you know of some of the things that I'd like you to focus on. Number 1, implementing criminal justice and police reform, including implementing a robust civilian review board. Second, making affordable housing areas into areas of opportunity, conducting an affordable housing needs assessment, increasing access to healthcare and improving health outcomes, desegregating education, implementing the recommendations of the Joint Initiative for Eliminating the Opportunity Gap, removing occupational segregation, increasing county support of Black businesses, and expanding transit access to Annapolis. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Megan. Up next, we have Dean Orderdkowski.
Me and my wife have both been playing golf there since 2004. And the last 2 years before they closed the course, the clubhouse, I guess, has been closed down for whatever reason. And just seems like a huge lack of revenue. Everybody goes to either Ram's Head or just goes home because there's nothing to do. You can't watch people play in or observe them hitting up to the 9th green. It used to overlook the 9th green. It seems like a huge lack of revenue not to have a clubhouse there. So I'm just speaking in support of trying to get a clubhouse built as soon as possible. We used to come there for lunch either before the round or hang around after the round. Golf's very, social game. So we'd sometimes be there 4, 8, 12 people at a time, coming to play together. And you also would sell more merchandise, golf balls. It just seems you're building a first-class golf course, looks beautiful online, and yet you're playing out of a trailer. It just seems like a, lack of planning. I don't know why the clubhouse wasn't involved in the first go round, but it seems like now would be the time to get it built as soon as possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dean. Up next, we have Kimberly Morissette.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Kimberly Morissette, and I've been a resident of Anne Arundel County for 14 years. I volunteered with and fostered for a few animal rescues and shelters in the area for over 8 years, and most recently our local animal care and control. I'm constantly in awe of the caring this shelter staff and volunteers have for its resident animals. It's not just a job for them, they truly care about them. As I know you've already heard, the shelter is in need of upgrades to meet basic requirements for the cats. The new dog cages are a wonderful addition, and now we'd like to see some upgrades for the cats. They are currently in 2x2 plastic cages where they are forced to eat and sleep right next to their litter boxes. As you can assume, that is not pleasant. Upgraded cages would allow for a litter space separate from the food and sleeping quarters. Also, as foster, I've seen the need for a staff veterinarian to be present at the shelter. Animals come into the shelter for a wide variety of reasons and often with various ailments or injuries. I know that when I have a sick foster animal, it's not always feasible to wait for a vet to come to the shelter for the once-a-week visit paid for by the Friends group. Some things require more urgent care, and I'm just not capable of paying those bills myself as much as I wish I could. The Friends Group does a wonderful job of helping out as much as they can by getting the sick animals to see local vets. But that money could be put towards the major care and surgeries that a shelter vet wouldn't be able to take care of. I appreciate you taking the time to hear from us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Up next, we have someone with the username Swing Coach.
That's me, Timothy Green. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Timothy, but there's a little bit of an echo.
Let me see. Is it gone now?
No, it's still there.
Let's see what I need to do to.
Are you watching on Facebook as well, or are you?
I think I know what I need to do.
Turning down the volume can help sometimes.
Okay, are we good now? Is that better?
That's better. Let's try to get through it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, my good evening statement is for the back to the clubhouse at Eisenhower Golf Course. I'm the nephew of Al Green, and as a kid, I remember the many years of being at Eisenhower Golf Course when blacks couldn't play the Naval Academy. My father was the golf superintendent, took care of the greens. Al was the pro. His brother Skip was the assistant pro. And it's where many black golfers could go to play the game of golf because we couldn't play other venues. And so Al is also a member of the National Black Golfers Hall of Fame. He was the first African-American club hit pro in the state of Maryland. In 1969, he was appointed to Eisenhower Golf Course. And I was also, as we heard before, a hometown Annapolitan. So he was born and raised here in Annapolis. His feats in joining the tour in 1967 are very substantial, being that they did not remove the all-Caucasian clause from golf until 1961. Al was also featured in a documentary by Samuel Jackson called Uneven Fairways, where Tiger Woods, Calvin Peete, Lee Elder are hosted or featured in that event. Eisenhower was a place where blacks were influential in golf. Family members ran the kitchen there. It was the place of one of the greatest tournaments ever, the Capital City Opening, where Jim Thorpe, Calvin Peete, and others came. And so my voice is for naming that clubhouse after Al Green. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Craig Kelstorm. It looks like Craig has dropped off.
Hello, we're there. We're there.
Hi, Craig. Oh, we can see you as well.
Sure, I'm here. Okay, good evening, elected officials, and thank you for your time tonight. My name is Craig Kelstorm, and I live directly across.
Craig, it looks like you paused. Okay. Maybe we'll come back to Craig. Okay, so up next we have Dawn Widener Burrows.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we can hear you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name is Dawn Widener Burrows, and I'm an Anne Arundel resident of District 6, and I'm also a trustee on the board of Annapolis Symphony. I'm here tonight to ask the county to reinstate funding in 2021 for the Annapolis Symphony's free annual concert at Quiet Waters Park. This concert has been a tradition in our county for many years. A diverse group of more than 4,000 people of all ages and from all over the county have come together Labor Day weekend to connect and enjoy live symphonic music in a beautiful outdoor setting in our own Quiet Waters Park. Unfortunately, last year's concert was canceled due to the pandemic. This past year has been a difficult one for all of us, and we believe bringing this concert back will be a true gift, providing joy and enjoyment to county residents and their families, all in a COVID-safe outdoor setting. We've appreciated Anne Arundel County's support over the years for this fabulous event and are requesting that you consider funding part of the cost of this event at $20,000 as you have in the past. With the county's support, we can continue to provide this fantastic event for all of our residents and their families. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Maria Metello.
Hello, I'm Maria Matilla, and thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I would like to address the need for more Spanish translators and that these translators be integrated into all county services. I have been appointed to be a member of the Anne Arundel Immigration Affairs Commission, and it is our duty to be the voice for immigrants in our community. But we need so much more than just a commission. We need more translators integrated into all county services. The immigration population has grown by leaps and bounds in this area. For example, Latinos are almost 9% of Anne Arundel County, and Latinos are 20% of Annapolis. There is nothing more important for us to make them feel welcome and to help them become productive members of our society. And the way to help them become productive members of our society is to allow them to be able to communicate in a productive manner with us. Unfortunately, that is a real struggle, I believe. And so I think the solution to that struggle of having this effective communication with our immigrant Latinos is to hire more translators for them to be paid and for them to be professional. I also believe that our phone lines, that the community phone lines need to have a default to Spanish translators as requested, like press button 2 for Spanish speakers. So thank you so much. I hope you consider this in the budget. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Maria. Up next, we have Julie Rosicki.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Julie.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I really appreciate Mr. Pittman's transparency presentation. That's really fantastic. I'm here to express extreme support for the community boathouse at Quiet Waters. I'm both a member of the Annapolis Rowing Club and a paddler for Water's Edge and the Chesapeake Paddlers Group. And I have to say, I moved to Anne Arundel County from Howard County specifically because of the Annapolis Rowing Club and being closer to water. And I love my home here, and I'm speaking passionately that we also need a home. Rowers are very quiet. We row early in the morning. We're low impact on the environment. We don't use motors. We use our own power. We keep the environment as clean as we do our boats, and they're a huge investment. We are inclusive, and we seek to include even more people in our club. But in order to create better access, we need to have access to the water. So we thank you so much for your consideration, and we hope that we'll be rowing down there when the symphony has an opportunity to play over Labor Day weekend. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Up next, we have Kathy Ware.
Yes, hi. I would like to speak in favor of the boathouse project, as Julie, my rowing mate, mentioned. I am also a member of the Annapolis Rowing Club, and sorry, I have another meeting on here. Hold on a second. Sorry. The Zoom world. I would like to express my support for the boathouse.
Kelly, we lost audio. Or Kathy, sorry. Kathy, are you still there? Okay, why don't we move back to Craig Kellstrom, and we'll try Kathy again later. Craig, you're back.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, great. Let's try this again. I'm going to really pare this down. I thank all of you for doing this tonight. I appreciate the time you spend all day and into the evening. But the basic question I have is the boiler system at the Studio 39 school has been emitting oil fumes, and they are pretty unpleasant. And this has been going on for a number of years. One of my neighbors down the street, Kirsten Chapman, also testified at the county council meeting regarding this. And she does say that she does call the school system frequently. They do send people out to check on the boilers, but we were basically told we're dealing with a dinosaur. There is gas service line in the neighborhood, natural gas. I have natural gas. And it would be more cost effective to use that than it would oil. The documentation has been going on for years regarding that. And according to information we received from the school system, the boiler is scheduled to be replaced in the upcoming fiscal year 2022. And the neighborhood, everybody here is asking, is it possible that you could vote yes on that so we could have this situation rectified? I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Craig. Up next, we have Stephen Waddy.
Hello.
Hi, Stephen.
A lot sooner than I expected. Hello, my name is Stephen Waddy with the Anne Arundel County NAACP. We have several requests. One is that we maintain the funding for body cams and dash cams, include funding for dash cams, which the county police do not currently have. We see, I would say, I just want to start it from here. This is about democratizing wealth within the county. So the budget process is great. County executive has done a wonderful job in terms of even giving out $500 where the federal government was unwilling to give out money. So at a time when everybody needed it. And the CARES Act funding that we still have left and maybe using in the future will also help individuals who are making the $11 an hour minimum wage. In the county, there's a minimum wage of $11 an hour for independent contractors. And to afford a 2-bedroom apartment, according to ACDS, you have to earn $23 an hour if you want to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in the county. So bridging the gap, the county is going to have to bridge the gap. The state is going to have to bridge the gap because private employers are not paying enough for people to be able to afford to live in the county. And we also would love to see inclusionary zoning into District 6 and 7.
Thank you, Stephen. Kathy Ware, we're going to try you again. Kathy, it looks like you're unmuted, but we're still unable to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear you very well.
Kathy, we hear you loud and clear. If you just want to speak, you could go ahead and get started. Okay, why don't we come back to Kathy again and move on to Christine Paulson.
Hi, good evening. First
Hi,
of all,
Christine.
hi, thank you so much, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Rodovin for hosting this. I think these town halls are extremely helpful to give us more information. Excuse me. I'm just talking in support of a community pier and boathouse at Quiet Waters Park. I'm coordinator of the paddling and rowing community, and we have spent several years looking for a permanent site where we could offer this to more people than we currently have. I've noticed in the county, we have over 20 sites for car top launches, which includes kayaks and canoes. And 2 of those sites have racks there for storage. And unfortunately, the rowing community can't move dragon boats, currachs for the Irish rowers, or rowing shells easily with car tops. So we are asking that you consider this. We can offer this. The athletic department from our Anne Arundel Public High Schools is ready to start this. We also have huge adaptive programs, and we all know during COVID how important it has been to not only take care of our physical health, but also our mental health. So with more shoreline than any other county in the state of Maryland, I can't understand why we don't offer this sport to everyone who's interested. It can cover high school students through seniors. And I think if other counties can do this, then I don't see any reason why Anne Arundel cannot. So thank you for your time. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Christine. Up next, we have O'Brien Atkinson.
Yes, good evening. I'm O'Brien Atkinson, president of the Fraternal Order of Police here in Anne Arundel County. And I just wanted to thank County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Rodvian for allowing us the opportunity to have input on this budget process. Being a police officer presents more challenges today than ever before. Our officers are on the front lines of this pandemic, and we understand that the impact it is having on our community, especially those most in need. We stand proud in our service to our citizens, and we work every day to improve our profession and our relationships with the people we serve. We met with Chief Howard today, and we talked first about the community. We also talked about improving staffing, vehicles, and body cameras. These are just a few of the things that help us serve the community better. Under your leadership, these things have been invested in, but these things also call for continued investment. We know you are listening, and we wanted to ask you to continue investing in public safety for the betterment of our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, O'Brien. Up next, we have Deborah Andrew.
Hey, good night. Thank you. I am a Maryland State Golf Association golf course rater, and I have actually been out to the new preserve at Eisenhower, and it's beautiful. You've done a fantastic job. Exquisite venue. I think it's going to be a premier destination for golfers. I honestly do believe that. Golf being an outdoor activity, it's become very popular during this pandemic, and I think a clubhouse would be a great addition to this venue. I think that also it would be good for creating additional revenue through outings and rentals. And I also think it would help to serve our local school golf programs and their education. That's about all I have to say. I'm very proud of what you've done so far. That is a fantastic venue out there, and you all should be very proud of what you've created. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Up next, we have Marguerite Morris.
Yes, good evening. This is Reverend Marguerite Morris. I'm with For Kathy's Sake and Community Actively Seeking Transparency. I want to first say that we're appreciative of the funding, and we thank both our executive and Councilwoman Rodvian for your support. So we're appreciative of the funding for cameras and ask that it continue. We're appreciative of the hiring practices within our current new police chief. But I want to remind you and others that hiring a person of color does not automatically fix a broken system. It does not automatically make all things right. We believe that the unfortunate incident in Annapolis is not isolated. We still need to be responsive to the need for a civilian review board. It's necessary. It will help build and improve community relationships with our police. It is not hard. We find it hard to believe that those 12 victims never asked questions about their cases, never called to complain about no progress. Please do not wait for the storm to come to try to plug the dam. A civilian review board is needed, it's appropriate, and many cities across our nation waited once a tragic loss occurred, resulted in persons of color coming face to face with a bad police officer, then they moved for civilian review boards. Then they responded in a hurry. In closing, This is not anti-police. This is anti-bad police. So please continue your current funding and make room in your minds and in your hearts for Civilian Review Board in Anne Arundel County. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Reverend Morris. Up next, we have Susan Darnley.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Susan.
All right, so my name is Susan Darnley, and I'm one of the officers of the Eisenhower Women's Golf Association. So I just want to make a couple points. One, of course, as you all are well aware, Eisenhower has always been a money plus for the county, even as it deteriorated because of age, the clubhouse was condemned, etc. So it is a gem, and what has happened to it has made it a super gem. And I know that when you're considering funding something like a clubhouse, you're into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in a pandemic, that may not sell well with the public who may not play golf. So I'm wondering if the county has considered funding it as a county private venture. I know that, and I don't all know the details all, but in the public library on West Street, they sold little paving stones that people put their names in. I don't know if that was for the county to help offset the cost of it, or if it was just to connect the community to the library. But has the county ever considered setting up a private donation type of thing in which they would match? When we go to different courses, we see plaques given to like gold, silver, those kind of donors. It might be an idea for the county to pursue to help pay for a beautiful clubhouse at Eisenhower. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. And we are down to our final four raised hands. So at this time, if you would like to make a public testimony, click the look at the bottom of your screen and click the raise hand function. And now we're going to move on to a participant with the username Cricket.
Hello, I'm Cricket, and I'm a part of the Eisenhower Women's League, and I've been a nurse in Anne Arundel County since 2004, working for Anne Arundel and Hospice of the Chesapeake. And when I'm not working, I'm golfing Monday through Friday when it's warm. And on behalf of the medical community, which makes up a large number of golfers, the clubhouse being built sooner than later is really needed, since we put in so many hours in this past COVID year. Eating and socializing is truly the only reason I golf. So personally, I just hope you really just think about this clubhouse that will just bring in so much money to pay for all the improvements that's happened. It'll pay for itself in no time, because socializing is it, and we all need this, especially now. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Cricket. And up next, we have Joy Felton.
Hi, good evening. My name is Joya Felton. I'm a resident of District 6, and tonight I'm speaking in support of increasing the budget for Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control, which my family and I began fostering for when the pandemic started. So far, we've fostered a total of 12 cats and kittens in the past 9 months. Foster families like ours play a crucial role in saving the lives of the many underage kittens who arrive at the shelter without their moms. Some of our guests are really young kittens who need to be bottle fed as frequently as every 2 hours, even throughout the night. So if not for fosters, these kittens would have to be euthanized because the shelter isn't staffed around the clock. Fosters also care for injured or ill cats and dogs and other animals who aren't doing well in a shelter cage. We're not the only ones who have discovered the joys of helping homeless pets. We are among the 170 new fosters since the pandemic began. And when you become a foster for animal care and control, you have to pay all of the costs associated with caring for the animals, including any vet care that they need. Thankfully, Friends of Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control, the nonprofit created by shelter volunteers, buys some of the pet food and supplies that fosters like me need, and really importantly pays for some of the medical care from outside vets. And if not for this financial support, my family and others wouldn't have been able to care for our foster animals. But truthfully, our county operated public shelter shouldn't have to rely on a small nonprofit to support it. Please allow Animal Care and Control to increase its medical budget so we can care for our animals.
Thank you, Joya. Up next, we have Amy Lanicum.
I basically just did it.
Hello, this is Amy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Amy.
Great. I am just, thank you for letting me participate tonight. I am wanted to speak in support of the Quiet Waters Park for access, increasing access, water access for all different types of watercraft, including paddlers and kayakers and rowers of all kinds. I won't repeat what others have already said tonight, but one thing I just wanted to add, in addition to the comments already made in support of this, is that with rowing, it is one of the fastest growing sports in the country, and the opportunities for scholarships for youth is a really huge draw for people wanting to participate in this sport, because it offers an avenue for a lot of young women, especially to pursue scholarship opportunities for school, which affords them an opportunity they might not otherwise have. And so that's just something I wanted to add to the to what has already been other comments that have already been made. And in addition, as Chris Polson already mentioned, Anne Arundel County Public Schools is in support of this, and this would be a great opportunity to incorporate them into having access to this amazing sport that is a great community outlet for so many people in the community. The club, Annapolis Rowing Club, that I'm a member of, has been around. We shared a facility at St. John's for over 25 years and have then since then been in a private marina paying pretty high prices to participate there. So thank you for your time and in support of getting better public access for more people in the community. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. And up next, we have Lisa Arrowsmith.
Oh, good evening again, everyone. How are you tonight? I am Lisa Arrowsmith. I am the chair of the Public Water Access Committee, and I'm here to speak in favor of more access at Mayo Beach Park. Mayo Beach Park is the nicest county public swimming beach. Unfortunately, it is open only a very limited weekends in the summer. The county should expand access to the swimming beaches by opening Mayo Beach Park 7 days a week from dawn to dusk, like the rest of the county parks, with the exclusion of the 8 weeks during the day, during the summer when it's used for adaptive paddling. I mean, not paddling, but an adaptive children's camp. Second, the county should rethink its planned management of traffic at Mayo Beach Park. There has been a plan developed in secret with no transparency that will require a smartphone and an app and a bank account to pay for a reservation to use this beautiful public park. That is going to be a barrier for marginalized groups. It's going to be a barrier for anyone who technology is a challenge. The county should instead establish a waiting parking lot at Mayo Elementary and use that and increase the social media tools they used last summer and create an effective means of managing that park without creating a barrier. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa. Lisa was actually our last participant, so that concludes the public testimony portion of the town hall tonight. Everyone did an excellent job expressing themselves and staying within the time frame. So I know that Councilwoman Rodvian took a lot of notes. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to her.
Thank you, Mr. Molden. I just wanted to let everybody know that, as I promised, I have notes of everything that folks, I took some comments on every single speaker. And, as we go forward with our budget process, the county comes into it quite a bit later. We get it in May and June, but we'll be looking at trying to get as many of these things as possible in the budget. Thankfully, the picture isn't as dire in terms of county revenue as we initially feared. So we'll be doing our best. And thank you so much for coming and just giving us your thoughts on the direction you'd like the county to be headed in. And we'll see you soon.
You need to unmute there, Mr. County Exec.
All right, try again. Thank you, Councilwoman Rodvian, for your hand signals and your great service to your district. She advocates for y'all, in case you didn't know. We already met about a lot of these priorities, and I think she pretty much pegged most of them. And she's a great example of a a citizen public servant serving her residents. I'm going to go through a few of these things, but I want to just start out by saying, if you think about what everybody talked about, it's pretty amazing to me that almost everybody who said something tonight they were advocating on behalf of a community-based organization, some institution, some group that they really believe in and they volunteer their time to. And that says a lot to me about the people of this county. And it's really pretty amazing. So going through a few of those, I just want to mention some and comment because first of all, Eisenhower golf course wants a clubhouse. I knew that. In fact, I had a phone conversation with Rick Anthony, your Rec and Parks director, just on Saturday about this very topic. And I've got to admit that, I've come into this job with some biases and some assumptions about, what should and shouldn't get public funding. And I've been wrong sometimes. And y'all have opened my eyes on this one for sure. And Susan Donnelly, it sounds like you're volunteering to create the Friends of Eisenhower Golf Course and to help raise money, just like they have the library Foundation and Friends of Quiet Waters Park and others. So we look forward to working with you. And I can't think of a better name for a clubhouse than the Al Green Clubhouse. I've not yet watched the documentary, but I intend to. And thank you for his nephew, I forget your name, testifying particularly to give us the story of the family at the golf course there. Forest Drive, I remember going out and meeting with the community group about that in the corridor study and our transportation department, we've actually put money in the budget this year to study that to try to help with some of the safety issues there. Annapolis High School fields and need for a bathroom. I hadn't looked into that one, and I absolutely will. And I also understand now that we need more women on the Rec and Parks Advisory Board. One is not enough. I was not aware of that. So we'll work on that as well. Start times, one-time money, transportation, interesting idea. And I think we'll certainly be having conversations about that. I know that the school board has made a decision to move forward on later start times. And so now it's time to start doing the planning for that. That's a good thing. Animal care and control, veterinary, on-site veterinary assistance, somebody who's, whether it's part-time or full-time, you need your own vet. We got that 7 times, one at each budget town hall, as well as the cat cages. And so we'll be working on that. We were glad to do the dog cages last year and provide a new position last year. You guys do amazing work. And once again, it's full of volunteers who are helping with animal care and control. So we appreciate that. Quiet Waters Boathouse, I understand from the meeting about it, not everyone agrees, but that's true of a lot of the projects that we do. And we understand that we don't have enough water access in Anne Arundel County. And I've heard that a lot over the last 2 years. And I agree 100% that we need more facilities, more launch sites. And if we could get a boathouse where people can do rowing, particularly to get some of the students out there and even start teams, what a great thing that would be. Wiley Bates, I sure do miss the caucus meetings there. Don't you, Lisa? Doing them virtually now, it's just not the same as doing them at Wiley Bates, the Caucus of African American Leaders meetings. So I'm glad you showed up, and we'll be talking to you. Annapolis Symphony, I've got to admit, that was another where I came in with a little bit of bias, and I did reduce the county funding for that. And I got to admit, I'm not a classical music guy as much as I am a rock and roll guy, but I've now understand what a big event that is for Quiet Waters, what a community gathering that is in the summer, Labor Day weekend. And so I'm not supposed to make promises, but you can count that as pretty close to a promise that we'll get back to where we were in our support for that event. Libraries, Discovery, and the Michael Bush Library. Your district is actually in pretty good shape now. I can't wait to see the Michael Bush Library getting used more, but they're providing great services, and we're always going to keep supporting our libraries. Glad to hear from the Literacy Council again. I went to the banquet with, if you don't know the Anne Arundel Literacy Council, It's an incredible organization. The banquet there a year or two ago, the students and their tutors were sitting at tables together and socializing, and it's an amazing work that they do. Megan Randy and Steve Waddy, you sort of, Megan went through the whole list. It sounded like my agenda when you talked about the Housing Trust Fund, the body cameras, the civilian review, the opportunity gap, especially. You went on and on and on, and I just kept checking them off. I wish we could fix them all in 1 year, and we can't, but we're going to continue working on all those issues. And the Immigrant Affairs Commission is something that's new in Anne Arundel County. We just started it this year. Thank you for raising the issue of translators. It's been, especially during COVID, we know that we are short-staffed and not doing as good a job as we should. We have a language access plan that has just been written. We're required by law to have. More of our departments need to have plans to be able to translate, and we're going to work on that. As always, thank you to our police officers on the front line with the FOP, and really thank you to all of you for weighing in. This isn't your last opportunity to weigh in. We will have a budget that we will send to the county council, and then they will have a couple of hearings that you can actually comment on what we've sent to them for further amendments. So I wish we could fund everything, and we're going to make these decisions based on our values and based on what you have said. And I can tell you that they pretty close to align. So thank you.